Morning, morning. So I do have my disclaimer slide up there. I'm Nathan Poole. As we were just saying, been mining now for about 5 years, and we have a few facilities between Florida and North Carolina, and started out as a poop coiner, and now I'm a Bitcoin Litecoin maxi. So don't judge the Litecoin part. But that's where I'm at, right? I love that. I became such a Bitcoin maxi that now I'm a Litecoiner too. So I really do believe in the tech. So a few heads up, as we were saying, right? Like I got into mining from a tax play perspective. So as a general contractor, we had a bunch of real estate businesses, and wholesales and flips, and commercial and government contracting and all that stuff. And so we got into mining because I was like, look, all of our businesses are safe, right? Or so we thought, right? Safe businesses, they're real estate based, and I want something that's riskier. And now I can't wait to sell my last few pieces of real estate to go all in on Bitcoin so I can go to what is, in my opinion, real safety instead of the tumultuous real estate market, right? So again, my disclaimer, right? I'm not a CPA. I'm not a lawyer. I'm married to a CPA, and we've spent lots of money on lawyers. But don't go say, well, that guy. No. Hire a good CPA. Hire a good attorney. If you want, at the end, I'm putting my cell phone up there. You can call me. I'll even talk to them, and we can discuss some of those things, because you would be shocked to find out that CPAs, doctors, lawyers, all these people with all the letters, right? They still forget things, and they still don't think about things. And look, all of us are always going to be smarter than any one of us, right? So like, I've been mining for 5 years, and I've learned so much. Just like today, I'm like, oh wow, there's a megabyte difference thing. I want to figure out how to right? Like I'm a GC, and so you hear these guys next door talking about tech stuff, and I'm like, I'm geeked out. I'm like, I'm learning so much. So look, happy to hop on calls with people. I've had the tremendous fortune of being able to help a lot of people with a lot of issues and talk with people, CPAs and stuff. So if you need me, happy to help and be an asset and a resource for you. So the first step, right? First we're going to talk about business strategy. I've got a very limited amount of time. So business strategy, and then we'll talk about some tax strategy. So remember, and now I made 3 memes just for y'all. So here you go. Remember our wrong one. Hold on. Our strategy, what button do I press here to go to the next slide? Is to develop a strategy, right? So the first thing is, right, realize that you have to have a strategy for business. You have to have a strategy for tax. For almost all businesses, your single greatest expense is going to be tax, more so than even employees, right? Like, we had businesses with dozens of employees, and even then, our number one cost, more than fuel, more than excavators, more than office staff, more than field staff, more than all of it, was always tax. How do you solve the tax problem? So there's a few strategies for that. So we're going to start with corporate strategies, and again, just real quick, like at a high level, there's not really ever a reason to be an S Corp if you're not at least doing like $10 million, right? Till you get to the 8-figure mark, you want to be an LLC. When you, Lord willing, right, when you grow to be larger and it becomes advantageous for an S Corp, then great. You can always you can change your corporate structure from LLC to S Corp. But an S Corp is stuck there. An LLC, you can elect to be taxed as an S Corp. So you grow, you don't even have to change the corporate structure. You just change the tax structure, and you might as well be an S Corp, right? So like, there's multiple ways that you can go from LLC to S Corp, but you can't go from S Corp to LLC. So if you're saying, hey, well, what do I start as? I always recommend an LLC, right? And it's an opinion, and opinions are like socks, and some of them stink, and I might disagree with some people, and that's okay, right? But I would definitely look into the idea of, hey, if you want to grow, I want to get into I'm planning on being a $100 billion company. Great, and I hope you do, and I believe in you, and I'll pray for you. But in the meantime, you probably should start out as an LLC, right? So LLC is probably the way to go if you're first starting. C Corp, really don't recommend this, except there's a little niche called a ROBS. It's a ROBS 401k, and it stands for Rollover Business Startup, and it's by politicians for politicians because they love to rob us, right? So like only Paul Theo, I'm the only person other than like, I've met one other guy. I met one guy at Bitcoin Nashville. I'm the only other guy I know that has a Rob's 401k plan. And what that is it allows you to hold some or all of your business assets in a 401k, and then you can convert that 401k into a Roth. You can't start it as a Roth, but you can convert it into a Roth. So your cash flowing Bitcoin sits right in a Roth. And when you sell it for $10 million a coin, it's tax free, presuming you sell it after you're 59 and a half, right? So, but you can manage your mine from inside of it. So you have an LLC over here that holds your land, let's say, and an LLC over here that holds your miners, and an LLC over here that your mining LLC pays the land LLC, and it pays your Rob's Roth 401k plan, and over here you can have and hold 5%, 10%, 85%, whatever that management fee agreement is between the LLCs, you can have that as a Rob's Roth 401k, and it's tax-free. And you can manage it. Now, because it's a C Corp, you do have a corporate tax rate, but it's corporate as of the time that it makes that money in US dollar denominated value. So you say, hey, I'm going to pay you 10% of my mine, and here's $1. You'll have to pay the tax on the dollar, but when that dollar appreciates to $10, you don't pay taxes on that because it's still inside of the Roth. So it's a tax-free structure. And again, there's only like 2 or 3 companies I'm aware of in the country that are doing this, but call them up and say, all right, talk to me about this. Get more details. I'm trying to give you like ideas so you can go and talk to your attorney, your estate planning people, your CPAs, and say, hey, well, what's this deal about this Rob's thing? And they're going to, most of them, 9 out of 10, well, I don't understand, right? You have to remember, like all people in all of their fields, until you've been really, really burned badly, you're probably not going to say, I just want to sit around and study tax code, right? Like I've been burned badly, and I'm like, no, I will never. I'm not going to do that, right? So I'm going to fix this thing. And so do the work, right, and figure out some of these assets. So here's some of these asset strategies. So here, just some ideas about it. Another thing is your self-directed Roth IRAs. You can actually, if you're self-employed or you're like you don't have a W-2, right? You're working for yourself. You can do what's called a SEP IRA, S-E-P IRA, and you can have them as a Roth. And what that does is it allows you to hold, buy, sell, hold, trade, whatever, your crypto inside of a Roth. And if it's a SEP IRA, a self-directed SEP IRA, you can put up to 25% of your income in it. You can take your Roth IRA and your ESA, your education savings account. So I got 4 kids, right? I can put like thousands for each child each year into it. And then I can put my health savings account. I can start my own health savings account and put I think it's like $6,800 I can put in this year. And so now with the 4 kids, I got $8,000 and $6,800 plus 25% of your income. You can put it all in there and go all in on Bitcoin or Litecoin, right? So like you can go all in on your asset and you hold it, you trade it, and when they partner together via a trust, so you can self-direct all of it. You want to go buy a house with it, great. You're not buying a health savings account or an educational savings account for their education now. They're not going to college now, right? My youngest is like 7. I hopefully don't have to worry about that for a long time, right? Well, maybe, but she's not like as smart as some of these guys, right? These guys, I'm like, man, would you get your doctorate at 4, right? Like I don't know, but so you can partner those things together, and all of it's tax free. You save your receipts. Take a picture, put them to a Google Drive, and let them sit there for 20 years. Save your receipts, and then when you're done, you say, all right, I'm going to sell I'm going to redeem all these receipts. Now I've sold a piece of real estate that my IRA is held in conjunction with my health savings account, in conjunction with my education savings account, and it's been sitting in Bitcoin for 20 years. Now your daughter's really going to school, right? You're like, I thought I was going to have to go to community college, but she's going to a college, right? Like, no problems, right? Like I'm a general contractor, so who am I to talk, right? But there's some really great strategies with that. So just some things to consider. Integrate your other businesses with Bitcoin, right? I loved the talk right here yesterday about home heating, right? The idea of being able to heat your home or heat your water with it. Find the businesses that you're already doing and integrate them. So let's say that you have so you can create an additional stream of revenue inside an existing business and write off all that electric cost. Now, we'll talk about how to treat the mined revenues in a moment, but you can mine it, and the whole electric can get written off through an existing business, and that existing business is allowed to have these additional revenue streams, including from mining revenue through it. I'm convinced that my general contracting company was probably the most aggressively mining company, and I had literal excavators, and then I had digital excavators, and my mother-in-law's like, well, listen, all this, my mother-in-law, she's, pushing 80, she's like, listen here, I know you guys are got the mine out there in DeBerry, and I'm trying, but why'd you sell your last excavator? I'm like, well, because we're doing mining in our mine. And she goes, yeah, but what tools are you using to mine all this Bitcoin? I'm like, what? It's a computer. I don't get it, So yeah, we sold our literal excavators for digital excavators, but you can treat these things in tax advantage ways too, and which we'll talk about in a second. And then integrate it with real estate, right? So you want to look. If you can increase the cap rate of a real estate play, if you're a real estate person, and if not, that's totally cool, right? Like I'm a real estate guy. So on a commercial enterprise, if you can carve out 300, 500 square feet on a 5,000, 10,000, 30,000 square foot building, and that's where you put your mine, your entity that owns that LLC, that owns the real estate, can lease the mining space back to you at what is an appropriate payback of the investment. So I'm going to use a 3-minute example using really even numbers. Let's say you have a 10,000 square foot space that you've got fully leased, and it's making you, and it costs $100,000, and it's making you $10,000 a year, right? So $800-900 a month. And so you're at a 10 cap, right? It's called a 10 cap. You got a cap rate of 10. 10% of that asset is cash flowing back to me every year, right? Now, if you carve out 500 square feet, which is all you really need, like we mine with L7, so it's super. I like L7s because it's really dollar dense. I can have, 1 megawatt of L7s costs what? It's like 12 times more expensive than a megawatt of S19s. So I can have a lot of dollars in a tiny little square footage footprint. So if you have a mine that takes up 500 square feet, and in that mine, you say, all right, I need to spend $100,000 to bring the electric there. The entity that owns the $100,000 piece of real estate might spend $100,000 to get you a megawatt, a half a megawatt there. And so now this entity just spent $100,000, but the entity that's mining says, I need to start paying you back for that. It's fair, it's appropriate, and it's within market value and absolute fair market research. So you can look at it and say, well, look, I spent for that entity, I spent over here for the real estate entity $100,000. So I need to get that back over 5 years. So give me $20,000 a year plus a higher rent because all the work I had to do for you. Well, now your real estate enterprise that was making $10,000 a year is now making $35,000. You're not going to sell a real estate asset at a 35 cap, at a 35% net operating income. You're just not going to do it. So what are you going to do? The price of your real estate just went up to $350K. So now you go to the bank and say, look, I got a 35 cap. No. I want an appraisal, and they'll use the new cash flow to talk about your appraisal. And they're going to lie. They're going to say, no, it's not worth 350. It's worth 240. All right. Give me 60% on my 240, and now you've got more money in your pocket than it cost you to buy the whole building in the first place, and you go do it again, right? It's like an infinite money loop. It's like the Michael Saylor of real estate, right? Like he just figured it out. You just issue debt, you buy Bitcoin, the Bitcoin goes up, you do more debt, right? How easy is that? So there's things that you should be doing with your existing business and with your real estate plays where it'll give you the safety of real estate, and you partner it with the upside of crypto. And there's no other company, there's no other type of business on the planet that's doing this. If you're a real estate investor, there's gonna come a time, I believe, where you have to be mining if you want to be profitable. And how else do you drive adoption but if not to take real estate investors and all of a sudden you're shoving Bitcoin in their hands every day? What do I do with all this digital money? Yeah, now you've got real estate investors that are trying to spend Bitcoin. That's part of our goal of driving adoption, right? So that's how you get there. So those are some corporate strategies. So let's talk about let's talk about tax strategy. So the favorite way that I would like to spend a tax return, I haven't had a tax return in a long time because you have to have a W-2 and prepay them. I don't like doing that. So, but this would be the way I would do it, right? By tax return, I mean another Bitcoin miner, right? So like I got your tax return right here, Uncle Joe, right? So there's a few ideas for tax strategies and for what to do with those. So the first would be, this is the way that we actually got involved in mining. We wanted some pass-through bonus depreciation. So all of our investors pretty much come to us and they say, look, I have a tax problem, and how do you help me solve that tax problem? I say, well, you invest $1, we'll give you a receipt for $1, right? It's a pass-through depreciation. I think it's on a K1, where they take it and they say, well, great, now I can write off that $1 that I invested. But they're also getting passive quarterly cash flow to them, even though it saved them off their tax. So what that does, let's say they're in a 35% tax bracket, they put $100,000 in. Well, you're going to have to give 35 grand to Uncle Sam anyway. So now your downside risk is mitigated by a third, and you're in a hard asset that's cash flowing with no tax problems. It's like the perfect scenario for somebody that's like, I want a hard asset, but I don't want to have to pay any tax. Yeah, why wouldn't everybody be mining? If you ever have thought to yourself, man, should I pay $1 in taxes here? No, it should be mining, right? You should never be paying tax on anything if you're properly planning your tax bills. Like, we plan them typically 2-3 years in advance. You know, we used to do like a good year, bad year, good year, bad year to kind of offset so we could carry it forward if we knew that there was some stuff that we couldn't legally shelter. And this is all legal, legit, above board stuff. This is, again, that's what I'm saying, talk to your CPA, get the data, get the info. This is going to be the type of thing that will save you from having to pay massive tax bills down the road. So another thing would be the multiple LLC idea that we just talked about a second ago. Like, have an LLC that gives you your cash flow steady, nice and slow and steady as an active income, right? So if that's your real estate LLC, here's my steady income, boom, boom, boom. If you need a loan on real estate, you can get it. If you need to show a cash flow from an LLC for a loan for something, look, I've got a cash flowing asset right there. I'm counting that as my income. After 2 years, you can count it for an income for a commercial or even a private residential loan after 2 years of income. Look, my mind has been cash flowing to me. If they look at a crypto entity, they're going to say, no, we'll never count you for a mortgage. But if you have a real estate entity and that's cash flowing you every month residually and you're showing, look, I paid my taxes on it. Yeah, you wrote it off with this entity, but we're not going to talk about that. I paid my taxes right here. Oh, well, we can count that for your income. Great. Here's a mortgage. Here's a loan. So make sure that you diversify your tax risk alongside all of your other risks, right? Like, risk-reward ratio is the primary driver of investment, right? So most of us probably aren't like, oh, Bitcoin, and we're going to throw it all away, unless you really went down the rabbit trail and realized, well, it's the highest reward and the least risk if you look at it on a long enough time frame. So, but you need to diversify your tax risk portfolio too. So, hey, I've got a really safe asset here, and this is cash flowing, this is regular, this is residual, this is good. And then I've got the mining entity. I can't wait to lose money there. And every dollar of profit goes right into more hash rate, because you can write them off or bonus depreciate them depending on the cost of the computer. So it's like, look, if I made $1,000, that goes right back into another miner for $1,000. Why would you bother paying taxes when you could just instead grow your mine, right? So presuming you don't need that income, and if you do need that income, then there's other strategies, right? Which we're trying to talk about now. So multiple LLCs, diversify your tax risk portfolio, and I've got like I've got minutes. So another thing, something to look into, if you have different states for your LLCs, like Delaware's a really good one, Nevada's a really good one. Nevada, I believe, is the only state in the nation where you actually can 1031 a business. Now, it takes over a year to set up, but if you have a business that you're like, hey, look, I'm planning on selling this thing, and when I sell it, I want to make sure that I don't have this massive capital gains tax, you can have a Nevada company and 1031 out of it. You sell your business for $1,000, and you have 364 days to redeploy that into purchasing another business, right? So, but I think that's the only state. I'm unaware. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any other states in the nation that'll do that. And another thing, like, look, and this isn't even on the notes here, but look up opportunity zones. So if you look up opportunity zones, like we're in the process of trying to buy a mine that's in an opportunity zone, because you can take your capital gains and deploy it in an opportunity zone. It defers what taxes you would otherwise have for 3 years, and then all of the upside, which is going to be huge, right? We're in mining. We're not necessarily in mining so we can make $1 today. We're in mining so we can make, over the course of the next 4 to 8 years, lots and lots of $1, right? So like, you don't want to make $1 today, you'd rather make $10,000 tomorrow. So as you delay the necessity of paying those taxes by 3 years, when you sell, that's when you really get your benefit of an opportunity zone, and you have to have an opportunity zone fund for that. So look into opportunity zones, and there's a map, right? Like on the federal government websites have the map of where geographically an opportunity zone is. So look into that too. And then look into the IRS stance on mining taxation. Here's a fun fact. They don't have one. So there's the conservative approach. I'm not too conservative in my approach, but the conservative approach is the moment it's mined, it's taxed. There's also a fully legal and legitimate argument to be made that within 30 days if I sell it, but there's not really an IRS code for it yet. There's a code for how to treat crypto and trades, but but that's based upon the fact that you've got a cost basis of entering it, which if you're mining it, you don't have a cost basis other than one that you assess and assert. So here's what I've talked to the best CPAs I can find in the nation and a couple of the finest attorneys, and they're all like, listen, there's not really a best way. The best way that we've heard, no, the most aggressive way that we've heard to treat the taxes is called an uncertain tax position. You file a single paper with a 0 with an uncertain tax position, say, I don't know how to tax this, you come audit me. Do it, come do it. They've not done it yet in the industry, and you know why? Because if they audit you and you don't like it and you sue them, the judge gets to set the precedent, and now the IRS doesn't get to set the case law. The judge sets the case law because there are no guiding principles for it, and they don't want to take that power out of their hands. Now, what's the worst case scenario? They come and audit you, you don't like it, and you sue them, or they wait 3, 4, 5 years, and then they say, all right, retroactive 2 years, here's the way it's treated. Okay, well, going back 2 years, you pay it. So you got away with not having to pay any taxes for 3 years. And then they'll say, hey, we got to pay these too, but because you filed an uncertain tax position, you were forthcoming and transparent. You said, hey, I don't know how to do this. You tell me, Uncle Sam. And when they can't, you get some time without the taxation, or if they do make it retroactively, I think they can only make it retroactive 3 years, but let's say they make it retroactive for 3 years. Okay, you got an interest-free loan from the federal government that now has a payment plan. They'll put you on a payment plan so you can pay them back. Thanks for the interest-free loan, because I remember when I had a W-2 job, I gave y'all an interest-free loan every year for years. Thanks for payback, right? Like, so, and it's fully legal and legit. Again, talk to your CPA. That's a very aggressive tax strategy, but it's the best one that we were able to find from talking to like the CPAs that audit all the big dogs. These big dogs, that's the game they're playing. And so, like, if you wonder why these politicians don't pay any taxes, they're playing the game right. And we can and should be playing the game right. I know we want to decentralize the game and we want to unplug from the system to some extent as Bitcoiners, but there's a game to be played, and if you play it right, you'll get more Bitcoin out of the deal. And then the last thing is read the code and do the work, right? Like, I don't understand coding, right? I'm a low little general contractor. I don't understand coding. But I'm learning, right? Like, I've spent years reading kernel logs now, and okay, well, what does that mean? Fan. I know the word fan. I got to replace the fan, right? Like, so, like, read the kernel logs in the same way. Read the IRS code. They give you publications almost every year on this stuff, and I know it's tedious. I know some of them are 80 pages, 120 pages. I know it's like reading a book. But if you could save yourself 10 grand, and that 80 pages might take you an hour or two to read, I would happily get paid 10 grand an hour, right? Like, yes, you want to pay me $10,000 an hour, there's a lot of things that I would do, right? So like, yeah, look, I don't know how to fly a plane, but if there's autopilot, give me 10 grand an hour, I'll fly it, right? Like, I'll take a risk, I'll gamble, right? So like, right? You wouldn't want to be on the plane, but so yeah, I mean, read the code, right? I don't know how to read, the code on the kernel logs, but now I do. I don't know what all of it means, but I know the parts that are important to me. Oh, I need a new hash board. Oh, I need a new fan. Oh, I need a new control board. Oh, it's just a heating issue. I wonder if I can, oh, it's that fan, right? Like, you read the code, even though I'm not a code guy. Read the tax code. Do the work, right? Like Satoshi basically, Hal Finney says, if you want to change the world, write code, right? Well, if you want to change your tax situation, read code, right? Read the publication. So anyway, that's all I got for the day. Thank you, guys. Look, and by the way, I got I had to. I couldn't help myself, right? Look, I'm a Litecoin miner, so I had to put on my tux. I'm sorry. So, and then we won't look at the last one. So if you need my info, there's my info. Take a picture. If you want to mine with us, would love to have you guys mine with us. I like to think that we're the highest ROI mine in the nation right now. I don't know if that's even remotely true or not. But if there's anything I can do to help you, shoot me a text. Text first for sure, because I'm like, a bunch of calls that are scammers, right? So text me first. Hey, I saw you at the mining conference. Boom. And we'll set up a time. Happy to hop on a call with y'all. But get involved in mining. Get involved in taking advantage of these tax structures. And God bless y'all.